Let's now speak to the head of the UN in South Africa, Mr. Ayodele Odusola, who joins us via Zoom now. Mr. Odusola, thank you so much for your time. I wonder, what does the UN make of Operation Dudula that has been in the forefront, calling for undocumented migrants to leave the country?
Thank you very much. The United Nations recognize the right to peaceful protest. However, law enforcement officials are responsible for policing, including serving the community and protecting persons against illegal acts. Operation Dudula is not a government agency and does not have any right to harass anyone in the name of removing foreign nationals in the country. Based on the existing document, we see it as a violation of the South African Constitution, which protects human rights of all people within its borders. This include people with or without resident permit. This right also include prohibition against inhuman and degrading treatment and harassment, intimidation, and violence. So this is something we see in the UN that really acts that violates global compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration, which South Africa is part of. The United Nations in South Africa, therefore, joins Mr. President in condemning this act.
And let's look then at, what you're saying, because others are saying that South Africa has every right to know who is in the country. But how do you then propose that South Africa does to resolve this particular matter, especially given what you've just said?
Thank you very much, Mungiwe. It requires serious political solutions, which include developing social compact with key stakeholders, the government, the private sector, communities, civil society organizations, as well as international communities, with clear responsibilities, accountability, and implementation framework. In this regard, politicians should avoid using migration issues to create political sentiment. Second, leaders, whether politicians, policymakers, judiciaries, security agencies, to walk the talk of the Constitution on human rights and protection of people living in South Africa. Also, we think it's very important to create safe haven for businesses to discuss relevant issues on employment of nationals and non-nationals in compliance with the labor laws, human rights, and ethical issues. We also note that if you deal with all these issues without addressing the root causes of this type of violence, we may be scratching the issues in the surface, not really addressing the real substance. Therefore, improving service delivery and creating appreciable job opportunities for South African youth is very important.
And let's talk then about how government has handled this matter, because I'm listening to you. It sounds like you are not really satisfied with government's response regarding this issue.
Well, thank you very much. The unequivocal statement of Mr. President Ramaphosa in condemning the acts are highly commendable. So also the Minister of Interior has already condemned the act. We think that kind of leadership is really in the right trajectory, and other leaders should rise to that occasion to really support the statement of Mr. President in condemning this. But we also recognize that existing migration laws in South Africa is comparable with other countries, but effective implementation is the main issue. Such implementation issues which we should look into include, first, fortification of our border ports and borders, including capacity building for immigration officials so that they know what the laws are and how to really implement them.
So,
two,
Pardon me, Mr. Odusola, pardon me, I just would like to come in there. My apologies. I'm listening to what you're saying because you're talking about it at, the level of the borders and all of that. And we do know over the years, there's been an apparent disconnect with what we see as, policy and what needs to happen at government level and what happens on the ground. In your view, as we round up this conversation, how do you then see the building of coexistence among locals as well as foreign nationals?
Well, thank you very much. What is really very important is that UNDP and other UN agencies in South Africa, in fact, the 17 UN agencies in South Africa, has a joint program on social cohesion in partnership with the government, civil society organizations to promote positive relations between host communities and migrants. In this regard, we have helped to start reviewing policies such as the 2012 Social Cohesion Strategy and supporting the implementation of national acts to combat racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance. So we strongly believe that working with government to develop social compact on social cohesion, focusing on moral regeneration movement, community conversation, and Pan-Africanism, where we are our brothers keepers, as well as establishing social cohesion advocates, will be very vital in promoting coexistence among locals and foreigners here in South Africa and many other African countries.
All right, Mr. Odusola, thank you so much for your time. That was head of UN in South Africa, Mr. Ayodele Odusola.